What is the correlation coefficient of the linear fit of the data shown below to the nearest hundredth? And we have a point here, 1, 8, then 2, 8. 3 is not as high as 8, it's only up at 5. 4, 3, 5, 4, went back up again. 6, you're all the way down at 1, and 8, 1. Okay, we have four choices, plus 1, plus 0.93, minus 1, and minus 0.93. Okay, now let's look at a series of points here that have a correlation coefficient of 1. Now 1 means that they all line up like this. Okay, it doesn't mean it's the slope of 1. Okay, you could have it with a more steep slope, like instead of going at 1 you're going up 2 and over 1, a different slope like this. But the fact is they all line up, so the correlation is still a 1. Or you could have it rise slower. Correlation here is still 1. 1 means they line up in a straight line. Okay, that's all the 1 means. And if you went down, instead of going up, if you went down as you go to the right, as this increases, these decrease. That means you have a minus 1. Now they're lined up, so it's a 1, but it's decreasing. As this goes up, the value of this goes down. That's what a negative 1 means. Okay? Suppose they didn't line up. Okay? Suppose they almost line up, but they don't quite line up. You can't draw a line through these things. Then you wouldn't have a 1. You'd have a plus, because as this goes up, these are going up. As you go to 8, it goes up to 8. As you go over 1, it only goes up to 1. As you go over here 3, it only goes up to 1. Okay? It's going up. It's going up as this increases. This value here increases. That's a plus. And since they're not lined up, we wouldn't say 1. We would say 0.93. Okay? Now, if you start off way up here, but you end up where? Down here, then as the value of this increases, the value of this goes down. They're not lined up, so you don't get a 1. We'll say 93, but it's negative because as this goes up, this goes down. So of my four choices, my original problem was like this. We would have to pick D. Okay? So that's a quick fix on this. Now, what is a correlation coefficient? Well, we will start off with our points, x, y. This point is the point 1, 8. 1, 8. And 2, you're still up at 8. Go over here 2 and go up 8. So it's 2, 8. This is 3, and you only go up 5. 3, 5. 4, you're only up at 3. 4 to the right, only up 3. 4, 3. 5, you're at 4. 5, 4. 6, what? What is this? How high is it? It's only up at 1, isn't it? 6, 1. And 8, 1. Okay? 8, 1. Now this is our graph, and this is what these are my XY coordinates for these points. All right? So copy that here, and what would x times y be? What's 1 times 8? 2 times 8. 3 times 5. 4 times 3 is 12. 5 times 4. 6 times 1. 8 times 1. So if you take x times y, this is the product of this times this. And then we could add up all these. The sum of x is, if you add these up, you're going to get 29. If you add up your y's, you're going to get 30. And if you add up your xy's, you're going to add up this column, you're going to get 85. Okay? Now the next thing you need to know for correlation coefficient is what is x squared. So we're going to square 1. 1 times 1. 2 times 2. 3 times 3. 4 times 4. 5 times 5, 6 times 6, 7 times 7, 8 times 8. Okay, then if we add these up, you get 155. And then we squared the x, now we want to square the y. Square the y. So we have 8 times 8, again 8 times 8, 5 times 5, 3 times 3, 4 times 4, 1 times 1, 1 times 1. Then when we add these up, we're going to get 180. Now these are the values that we need in order to find out what the correlation coefficient is. Okay? All right? So let's just take this bottom row here and think about these numbers. Now the correlation coefficient is known as R. Remember the 0.93, negative 0.93? We should come up with negative 0.93. That was our only 4 choices. We had a plus 0.93, a plus 1, a negative 1, and negative 0.93. And our answer was negative 9.93. So we're going to use these things. First of all, I have 7 values there. If you go back to my table back here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 numbers here. That's what I have. We skipped the number 7 here. So if you can't, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So N is 7 here. You'll have 7 here, and then we want this number to be here. Okay? All right? We want that number to be there. And then you're going to do the sum of x, which is right here, okay, times the sum of y, which is right here. This is just a formula, okay? Now at the bottom of the formula is a square root, a radical, a positive radical, okay? All right, and we're going to have 7. Now the sum of x squared is right here. It's going to be 155. And the sum of x is 29, isn't it? This is 29 squared. And you're going to do the same thing with the y's. We have 7 times the sum of y squared, which is 180, minus the sum of y, which is 30, the sum of y, which is 30 squared. So now we need to fill in the values here. It's going to be 7 times 85, right? 7 times 85, minus, with the sum of x, which is 29 times the sum of y, which is 30. So we're going to do 7 times 85 and then subtract the product of these two. Here's your square root, and we're going to have 7 times the sum of x squared, which is 155. See, that's right there. 155 minus the sum of x is 29. This is the same value as this is. We had 29 for this. We're going to have 29 for this. Then we're going to square 29. And then I have 7 times 180. This is 180. Minus the sum of y is 30. So we'll put 30 in here. We put 30 for this one. We're going to put 30 for this one. 30 squared. Okay? So we copy that up here. 7 times 85, 29 times 30, 7 times 155, and 29 times 29, times 7 times 180, minus 30 times 30. 30 times 30. So on the top we're going to get a negative number. Okay? If you subtract those, you're going to get 275, so it's 275, but it's negative. On the bottom, we got the square root, and when we subtract these two, we come up with 244. Subtract these two, we come up with 360. Okay? So when you take 244 times 360, you get 87,840. So this is the number I'm dealing with now. Copy that up here. Let's do the square root. Take the square root of this bottom number. You got to have a calculator to do that. Square root of the bottom number is about 300. Okay? And if we take this and divide it by this, we come up with about 0.927. Okay? Because it keeps on going here. I didn't put all the numbers. That's why that's about equal to, which is about equal to 0.93, but it's negative because this was a negative 275. That's how they're actually coming up with that number. Okay? We got the quick fix. Looking at the graph, we know we can eliminate 1 and negative 1. Why do we eliminate 1 and negative 1? Because the dots don't line up perfectly and give you a straight line. So we throw out A, we throw out C, And why do I pick the negative one instead of the positive one? Because as this value goes up to 8. We were at 8 here and 8 here. We went down 5, we went down 3, we went down to 4, we went down to 1, we stayed down to 1. We were up here, now we're down here. As this increases, this value decreases. So lines that go like this are negative. So we're going to pick D for two different reasons.